Hey guys, welcome to the Power of 1 Million. I am Teri Ijeoma, and we have on today Abu Now, how do I say your last name? I don't want to mess it up. Say,
It's Fofana.
okay, good. I was gonna say it right. I just wanted to make sure. But you do look clear now, Boo. You look very
Okay,
clear,
awesome.
clear and dapper. Hey everybody, but I see you guys coming into the chat. I see you putting in where you're from. I see Oklahoma City, New Jersey, Orlando. Hey guys. And y'all know what? We're gonna hop right in today because Abu has a flight to catch. He travels almost as much as me. He is like always everywhere. So Abu, tell him, where are you now? You were calling in from.
Yeah, so today, currently, I'm calling in from Atlanta, and I'm traveling around a lot. Then I'm heading to Philadelphia, and then for a few hours, and I'm flying all the way to LA. So on the road, not as much as Terry though, but on the road.
Man, he'll do these pop-ups. Sometimes he'll be like, you know what? I got a layover for 2 hours in Dallas. You want to get lunch? Yes, Boo. I want to get lunch. Let's do it. Let's go. Okay.
Hey, we
I
got some
love
people from
it.
Dallas in here too. Okay, Sharice, we see you.
Uh-huh. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, and Monica, she says she's in Atlanta. She's like, hey, from Atlanta. Yolanda says she's in
Yay,
Atlanta too.
yay.
All right, guys. Well, let's get started. So, you know how we do. I'm going to do a quick introduction, tell you a little bit about me and the series, and then we will have some time to just hear from Abu and his $1 million journey. And because it is a webinar, we can see your questions. So as we're going through, feel free to put your questions in the chat, and I'll try to put in as many questions as I can. And we do know Abu has to go and catch a flight, so he may have to leave a little bit early, but we're going to try to get as much as we can before that. So let's go. My name is Teri Ijeoma. I'm the founder of Invest with Teri, and our goal is to help 1,000 students make $1,000 in a day. And with that, that would be $1 million a day. And can you imagine the impact that we can have? And y'all, like, the cool thing is that our students are actually hitting bigger than 1 million. So I think it was yesterday the market fell, and when you watch this, you may be out of context, but at the time of this recording, the market's been doing these big up and down swings because of coronavirus. Like just today, it was announced a global coronavirus epidemic. So at the time of this recording, the market had fell 2,000 points in one day, and my student was like, "Oh, by the way, I made $20,000 today." I was like, "What?"
Right.
So that's what I do, and that's how I made my millions, investing in the stock market and teaching others how to invest as well. And because we have this $1 million a day goal, we said we've got to start showing people other millionaires to just allow their mind to imagine what could be done with 1 million. So that's how the Power of 1 Million series got started. And that's why I'm so excited to introduce you to other people that have reached this $1 million, million podcast, million something mark. And the cool thing is Abu has met the $1 million mark, and his students have too. So that's so awesome. So welcome, Abu.
No, thank you for having me out here. Your community, because I'm part of your community too. And yeah, there are a lot of people making money out there. I'm like, man, like people are really doing this. And so, but it's, that commitment and saying, I want to do this. I'm committed to the process of it. And, whether it's a learning curve or not, I'm going to double down and try to learn this new skill set to get me free, right? Or to get me flexibility that I need in my life as well.
Yeah, that commitment is the biggest thing, I think. Like people just don't understand that anytime you're learning a new skill, even if it's learning a new language, you got to be
Yeah,
committed to that thing. You got to practice every day. You got to actually
exactly.
learn the words. Like you're not just going to overnight be fluent in something new. And that commitment piece is a piece that I feel like a lot of people are missing.
Exactly.
Now,
No,
I
and
don't
I
want to
see it
get
all the time too. Yeah.
Yes, I was gonna say you see it in your ads and your courses as well. But how about this? Before we go all the way deep, please just introduce yourself. Tell us, how
Okay.
did you reach your first million?
Yeah. So, hey, everyone. My name is Abu Fofanah, and I'm what some people call a digital marketing strategist. And so, essentially, what that means is I spend a lot of times looking at data on the internet, specifically advertisements, to use that data to get back in front of my audience, whether it's through remarketing, right? Have you ever been to a website, you leave, and that ad starts following you, right? So that's called remarketing or retargeting and so forth. So I used to run an agency where I used to run ads for people, but now I transitioned out of that, and now I train different business owners how to do it themselves. So here's the skill, and now you do it yourself in running advertisements to your product, to your service-based business. And the way I reached 1 million in million sales, and during that span help business owners collectively reach 2.1 million in their business and driving sales, is through creating something that was scalable. And so my program is called Power Your Launch Marketing Accelerator. And I was able to help over 700 different business owners, primarily women of color founders, reach, start making consistent sales in their business through 5 figures, 6 figures, and so forth. But I reached that 1 million by that consistency of running advertisements, running ads, looking at what's my return on these ads. And my first 1 million, I think I spent about $270,000 on ads to make my first 1 million in sales. And so I spent 270, made my first 1 million, and then 200 of that was taxes, right? So it left with almost 50% that I'm bringing in, a little over 50% that was straight profit, right? And so, and I'm super transparent about my numbers, by the way. If y'all follow me on social, I really like breaking it down, but I reached my first 1 million by spending money, but I didn't have 200,000 in the beginning to make 1 million. Does that make sense? So I put money in. When I made money back, I put that money back in. When I made money back, I put that money back in. When I made money back, I didn't go buy, shoes or take myself out to eat or my friends out to eat. I literally took that money and I put it right back in. And over time, it grew, right? So I know these sound like big numbers where people are like, well, I don't have 200,000. Neither did I, right? We in the same boat. It was a process. It took time to get there. And now that I'm there, I could look back and say, wow, man, this is a lot of work. But I had to stay committed to the process. So that's how I reached my first $1 million in sales.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So I heard a couple different things there. I heard that you spent $270,000 to make your first million. Now, most people so that right there seems to already take a certain type of mindset. Some people, as soon as they made the money, would go use it for something. So what would you say are the mindsets? What did you have to shift your mindset? How did you have to change your mindset to do that?
Completely. I think that my first 4 months of running this business, I spent $3,900 and I made $100,000. And I was like, wow, I have $100,000, but only spending less than $4,000. And I thought, well, I'm gonna just increase it even more. The next 100,000 cost me 7,100. I spent 7,100 the next 30 days to make 100,000. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna put more money in. The next 30,000 brought me 100,000. So now you can start seeing it's increasing. My expenses are rising as I'm trying to reach the new levels. But I had to change my mindset. My first 100,000 I made, I was like, I have 100,000 sitting right there. Some was payment plans. I was still waiting on pending transactions. A lot of it was in my bank account. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? I have 100K. That's how much I would have made if I stayed at my job. So do I just go on vacation for the rest of the year? Do I put some in my 401K? How much of it should I give to my mama, right? My siblings, right? How should I allocate this? And the first thing I did was, get office space. I said, you know what? This idea is starting to work. Notice how I didn't even think it was a business until I hit 100,000. Some people, at different thresholds. With me, I was like, okay, will this work again? Will this work again? The first investment was office space, $300 a month, right? I was like, okay, I got office space. I even thought that was expensive because where I come from and my family come from is refugees, one of 7, raised by a single mom. We never talked about money. right? Money was the last thing you talked about when you're poor, right? You talk about everything else, love and happiness, but you rarely talk about money. And so my mentality was, 300 is still a lot of money, right? Here I was with 100,000 in my bank account, and I'm counting everything. I'm like, oh, that's a lot. Okay, I got $10 I could spend for lunch and dinner. So let me go to the buffet and like take a to-go plate. So I had this mindset of, okay, this is a lot of money. But then I was also on the other side where I was making this money, and I was just trying to figure out, where do I need to be? So I had a money mindset challenge to get to and cross over to the other side. So for the longest, I was hoarding, I was like, okay, let me just put it back into business, but I wasn't making any other investments in myself, and I stopped growing, right? And so it's really important as you make money to continue growing mentally as well, to how to handle that money at the same time.
Now, how did you get over that scarcity mindset? Because I admit I still struggle with that. Like, I'm a millionaire, but I still ride the mega bus because I'm like, it's only $10, and I don't understand how people could ride this other line that's $100. I'm gonna just go for 10. So how did you get over that?
And it's a process. So a quick story. So I remember one day it was pouring rain, and I had parked my car across the street, but it was time because the meter was about to expire. For the first 3 hours, they charge you $3. For the next 3 hours, they charge you $6. So it's pouring rain outside. I get the notification on my phone that the meter is about to expire for the first 3. I could have simply went on my phone and click extend and just pay $6 for the next 3. However, I went out there in the pouring rain. I moved my car across the street to pay $3 again, and I got sick for the next 2 weeks. So that was one thing. I was like, okay. Just spend the extra $3. Like it's not worth it to go get sick for the additional 2 weeks. So I was really taking a step back. And when I was sharing these stories, my friends were like, wait, why are you doing that? Like, why don't you just pay the extra? But I'm like, but I could save that $3. I could spend it the next day.
It's the principle. It's the principle of the matter. Like
and so I had to figure out, and I think it was a process, and it still is a process to this day, where I'm always debating like, okay, I could take this money and I could hire someone, or I could take this money and I could be there an hour. I could save an hour, or I could, take the bus and get there 3 hours later, and realizing that my time is worth money, right? Like my time is worth money. And I realized that because when my friends would invite me out and I would go spend 2 hours with my friends, and I would come back and realize, okay, with that 2 hours, how else could I allocate it? And with 2 hours, I could make $5,000, right, through running ads. And I'm like, okay, if time is money, I have to start spending my time more effectively and efficiently. So every day I have to repeat this model to myself. Every single day I'm brought with decisions where now that I have $1 million, right, I'm like, okay, do I spend $20 on? I'm like, come on, Abu, like time is money. Will it save you time? Yes. Okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Because from your numbers right there, if you can make $5,000 in 2 hours, that means each hour of your time is worth $2,500.
Right.
And like the truth is, like you got to start applying that. I'm not telling you, I'm telling this to myself too. But like we have to start applying that same mentality to all of the different areas. So if somebody asks you to speak, I can't speak unless you're paying me at least $2,500 an hour. Someone asks for a one-on-one consultant. My 1 hour is worth $2,500. Right. Sometimes we don't really realize that, but it is a trade-off. There's an opportunity cost for every hour that we put into something.
Absolutely. Even now, like late last year when I would go on dates, I'm like, okay, go on this date or run ads. Like, come on. Like, I know. It got to that point where I'm like, okay, like I go on this day, I'm spending money, right? Or I could like take this money and run some ads and get a return. Like it got to that point where I'd ask it about everything. Like, what's the ROI? Like, what's the return on investment if I did this thing that I did? But yeah.
And you know what, Abu, some people, before we get on the rabbit hole of your dating life, I have some thoughts. No, just kidding. Some people were asking on here one more time, like, so you were selling ads, and can you tell them how to get to your course? Because some people are asking about it.
So y'all could go to poweryourlaunch.com And once you'll learn more about the program, but once you click enroll, it'll take you to the checkout page and you can get even more information. Or you can follow me at Abu Fofanah, and literally there's a link in my bio that leads to the webinar that it'll dive deeper into what exactly we cover in the program. The other aspect is someone was asking around, did I take out a loan? No. So I built this from $5 a day, using my own personal money. And I was unemployed at that time, right? I was unemployed and I was using my own personal money to fund my life, right? My run rate, how much money that I had before I had to go back to corporate, everything. So I did not take out a loan. It was very small investments. When I made a return, I put that money right back in. I did not think about anything else but putting that money right back in. And Annette just shared my Power Launch, the webinar. Check out that webinar, that masterclass. It really gives you an in-depth insight into what I teach people and selling their products, selling their services by using advertisements, specifically Facebook and Instagram ads, how to monetize what you do, right? So it's not about growing a large following. It's not about getting viral. I don't care about any of that. I'm talking specifically about how do you make sales. Doesn't matter if you have 5 people following you. Doesn't matter if you have only 1 post, right? It's about how do you get your product or service in front of your ideal audience through running ads and get them to buy. So that's what I teach you about monetization. I can't make you famous overnight by going viral. I only talk about making money. I just want to stress that. I only talk about making money in the program.
He's like, I can't make you go viral, boo. That is not my gifting. No. But real quick, okay, so thank you, Abu, for that. And yes, check the chat, y'all. For all you guys that are here in person, like, you get the goods because the link is right there. So definitely check it out. I'm part of Abu's course, so it really is amazing. But here's the question, Abu. So like you were saying, you didn't want to go back to corporate. I know when I left my job, my mom, like every other day, told me about all the side hustles and things I could do. Well, you could go drive for Uber. You could be a substitute teacher. So how did you refrain from going back and getting something that was consistent or stable while you were growing?
Yeah, so this was hard because I actually started out as an entrepreneur by selling t-shirts out of my dorm room. Then I went into corporate and I was working at PwC for a few years. And then I left PwC with no plan. And I actually didn't tell my mom that I left corporate until 8 months later. And, because during that 8 months, I would still get dressed every day, put on my suit, we'd head out the house at the same time, like, oh, I'll see you later. Like, oh, my project is local. And when I left PwC that first time, and my starting salary when I was at PwC was $65,000 a year. When I left, it was at like $75,000 a year. And this was the most amount of money my family had ever seen, right? My mom is a refugee, middle school education. She only made $30,000 a year max her entire life, right? Every year she's only made $30K. So here I am making $75,000. Right. And so it's like, why? It's hard for me to go and tell her, hey, I'm thinking about leaving my job to pursue entrepreneurship. But when I left, what I did was I would go to the local WeWorks and I would say, oh, I can help you with that. Right. So what I was trying to do is surround myself with a community, but also help them with things that I knew how to do. Right. I knew how to build PowerPoints. I knew Excel. Right. I knew paid advertisement. I didn't realize how good I was, but I knew how to do it. And so through this trial of 8 months, I started making them a lot of money. I helped one company go from making $6,000 a month to $100,000 through paid ads. And again, I thought everyone was doing this. I'm like, everyone's good at that. I get a phone call 8 months later, and it's one of my mentors who's working over on Wall Street. And he's saying, Abu, can you come in and do this, project? And at that point, I wasn't making a lot of money. I was just helping people. And I'd make, enough to like $2,000-3,000 a month. It wasn't a lot because, again, I thought everyone had the skill set that I had. I returned back to corporate, moved to New York, and I walked in my first day back at corporate, and I was like, okay, I don't need to be here. And I lasted there about 7 months until I realized, so I was like, okay, I need to leave. I can't be here. Well, what can I do? I took, pen to paper, and I realized, okay, well, I'm good at this advertisement thing. People keep telling me I'm good. So let me see what happens if I decide to run ads for people, because I need to be able to make money if I'm going to leave this job. Like Wall Street job was $35,000 with a signing bonus, right? So here I was making six figures, making even double. I left PwC at 75,000.
Right.
I'm making 135. So here I am about to leave, and I'm living in New York, right? New York is super expensive. I lived in Brooklyn, and in Brooklyn, I lived in Dumbo. Dumbo is the most expensive neighborhood in New York. I lived on a penthouse right on the water. So
that must be why they call it Dumbo, because it's so too expensive. That's just go ahead.
Expenses are high. And so when I decided to transition from the Wall Street job, I went on Instagram and I posted a story. Hey, I'm going to start running ads for people. Is anyone interested? I woke up the next morning and I made $42,000. People signed up.
What?
People signed up because they saw from my previous case studies of helping the people at WeWork that I was good. Again, I just thought everyone did it, but everyone saw and they were like, no, you're really good. Like, I don't get those type of results. And so I remember walking into work the next morning, and I was supposed to have a meeting with Bethany at 9 a.m. because we were supposed to prep for our 9:30 a.m. meeting. I showed up to the office at 9:18, and Bethany's like, Abu, you're late. What's going on? And I'm like, she said, we have a meeting at 9:30. I was like, I don't have a meeting at 9:30. And that was my last day. And I turned in my laptop and I walked out. And so I started identifying, well, what was I good at? And I realized I had a skill set. And I started monetizing that skill set by helping other people grow their business through the skill set that I had.
Oh my gosh. Someone says when you think about your yearly salary versus what you can make in a day, the choice is clear.
Listen. I remember the first time, I think it took me 4 days to make $65,000. And I was like, look, I did my PwC salary. And then it took
right.
And then it took me like 10 days to make over 135,000. I was like, look, I did my Wall Street salary.
Man, so Abu, just recently when I was in South Africa, I did $44,000 in a day. And that was like my education salary. When I was back in like my first job when I was at Teach for America, I made like 45,000. So I was like, oh man, I just made an education salary. Then the next day I was at like we were going to see where Nelson Mandela's prison was. And I ended up making $63,000 in a day. And I was like, oh, that was my principal salary. Oh my gosh. And then after that, I made $83,000 in a day. And I was like,
it's different. Right. Different.
Somebody was like, you could literally just work 2 days a month and still make $1 million.
Right.
And I was like, oh.
Right.
Now, what was that turning point though when you started actually realizing that you were good? Because I heard you say like until a certain point, you didn't really think it was anything.
Yeah.
So when did you start realizing you were good?
What happened, I started documenting what I was doing. And when I would document it and create these little case studies and write blog posts about it or show behind the scenes on my Instagram, people started commenting like, wait, how did you do that? Right? Oh, like, why'd you do that way? And I was like, oh, like, this is why I did it, right? And they're like, wow, like, I never heard it that way before. I'm like, oh, really? Like, I just thought everyone was knowing this. So when I started putting my work visible for the public to see, unknowingly, right, I was just trying to record the behind the scenes, and unknowingly other people were watching and saying, well, and started asking me questions where it almost turned into consultations, right? So here I was building an audience. I was following me because I was building case studies and helping other individuals scale their business. And through there, I was like, well, let me start an agency. And then the agency was fun, but I can't scale an agency. It was me and I had 26 clients. And so I can't scale an agency. So I was like, let me teach people how to do what I did for themselves. And so that's how I transitioned from an agency to now I only do the course. So I do no agency work. So I don't want anyone emailing me on this right here. I don't do any agency work. I don't do any done for you services. I only teach people how to do it themselves. And the reason being is because you keep all the money. Once you learn the skill, you keep all the money, and you're thinking about your business today. I'm thinking about maybe another business you may start 6 months from now or a year from now. Do you have the skill set to market? The answer will always be yes, right? Because you have the skill. You don't need to hire out. And if you do decide to hire out, you know exactly what to look for because you know what to do. And so I only teach now people how to market and monetize their business, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, and starting at $5 a day, testing it into the market.
Yeah, like they say, it's better to teach somebody how to fish than to just always feed them.
And
Because, go ahead.
And to add on to that, Teri, because I know, what I'm going to get after this, people are saying, I don't have time. And I see Sandy say, I don't have the time. Sandy, when you're making $100,000 from your bed, right, by running advertisement, you have the time, right? So it takes the investment to learn the skill. But if you don't have the time, you're going to spend the money. And you're going to spend the money hiring all the wrong people over and over and over again. But if you just take the time to learn, I have millionaires in the program. Teri's in my program. Teri, as busy as she is, right? As busy as these people are, it's about growing as a business owner. You should constantly always be investing in your skills, in yourself, in your education. And so when I'm able to, make all this money, I always create the time. Trust me. It's just different. You're not vending, you're not cold calling people. You're literally in your bed and you're running advertisements. And so it's different. It's really different.
Yeah. It's really different. And I think for me, I've realized that if I don't take the time up front to learn, I'm going to still spend the time on the back end. Because when I get the wrong person running my ads, I'm going to have to then take 2 or 3 hours to go find out what they did wrong. If I have the wrong person trying to come up with my story, I then have to take 3 or 4 hours to try to rewrite everything they did. So you have the time. It's just about, do you want to spend it on the front end, getting educated in advance, or do you want to spend it on the back end trying to fix all the problems from these people who didn't know what they were doing? Exactly. So I think that's something I've definitely learned for sure. And I think too, one of the comments you said about like, not everybody knows something. This is going to sound so random, but I was at the airport a couple days ago and we were in the Whataburger line, and Chick-fil-A's light was off. It was a Sunday. And the lady in front of me, I was like, man, I always want Chick-fil-A on a Sunday. And she was like, what's wrong? Why can't you have Chick-fil-A on Sunday? And I was like, because Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. Like, everybody knows that. And the fact that she didn't know that Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday, I was like, some things you feel like everybody knows, but that's never going to be the case. There's always going to be someone who doesn't know how to do what you know. And like that just solidified for me, like I'm a really good trader. And sometimes I think, well, everybody knows this. No, for every skill that you have, there's someone who does not know it and who you have to be the person to bring that advice to them.
Right. That's exactly right. Teri, give me 1 second real quick.
And while Abu is taking a second, I'm going to look through some of the questions. And I can answer some of these because I'm in Abu's course. And y'all, these sessions are really about learning somebody's story. So they're not about selling a product or anything. But since you guys are asking questions, I don't mind answering. So for all of you guys that are asking questions about the course, make sure you just visit Abu's page. His Instagram is at Abu Fofanah. Like, people are saying, how much does it cost? I think it's like a little over $2,000. How long is the course? It depends on you for how long the course is.
Yeah, so it's a 6-week intensive. So it's like a mini MBA program. That's what some people call it, but 6-week intensive. You go the entire beginning to end. So it's not a piece of this, no, it's entire beginning and end. So anything you think you know about ads, please leave it at the door, because I'm teaching you exactly my blueprint and strategies from the ground up. And it's for anyone. So whether you have a product, whether you have a service, if you are selling CBD, you can't advertise CBD on Facebook now, so you wouldn't be able to do that. But even if you have an idea about a product or service and you're working on it, I would highly advise taking the program now to learn the skill now. So you are building it the right way the first time. And for those of you that already have a product or service out, again, you'll come into the program and you'll see a lot of the gaps that you have, and you start realizing, oh, that's why I wasn't selling, right? Oh, my targeting was completely off. And so again, it is a lot of work, and it's live, meaning in a sense that every Wednesday you have these live sessions with me, but it is work, right? I want to emphasize that
it is work.
but if you can do the work, you're going to earn, it's really, really high.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Now, a question that I have for you, and I've gotten good at my questions, by the way, so you are in for something. But this question is, who came through for you when no one else would?
Who came through for me when no one else would? I think that it was definitely a community, right? It was definitely a community of people. And I'm trying to say, because there was a few people. I mean, one of my mentors, when I left Wall Street, I was at their house during Christmas, and I was trying to figure out, they were asking me questions like, he went to Harvard Business School, is the CMO of this company. His wife went to Harvard Law, has her own practice. His daughter's going to Yale. So here I am, like, I don't even know what to do with my life. And, I was at their guest house, and I was staying there for about 2 weeks. And I remember every day at the kitchen table, I was trying to think of like, here's what I do next, and journal. And they really came through for me because they gave me that space, right? They gave me that space to just create and think. Right. And so that was critical. And then fast forward 1 year later, I took, them out to dinner. And I was like, this is when I first, when I was lost, like I was completely lost. But you both, you didn't pressure me into anything. And you sort of allowed me to just create and think. And you allowed me to stay with y'all. And so that, I think that really solidified in my mind, like, okay, people believe in me, even though they don't see my vision, right? They don't see the vision of what I have, but they really believe in, me as a person and investing in me.
Now, this is a question for you. So you are a Black man, and would you say that, like, what advice could we give if we were trying to allow other Black men to figure out, like, their space? Like, is the advice that, hey, the best thing to do is to give them space? Or is there any other tips you can say on, like, how to help someone when they're going through a situation like that?
Yeah, so one thing that also helped me out, especially people that have so many ideas, is writing everything down, and then trying them and cross things off your list. So the objective of this game is to cross things off your list. But every time you cross something off your list, what were the pros? What were the cons? What did you learn from them? And so for me, when I had all these ideas, I had to create a list and start crossing them off. The second big thing is community of people that have different energy and vibration than you. And what I mean by that is who you surround yourself with, right? Even though, my friends, they were doing, great, like, and I was trying to, in this process, they were my biggest supporters and cheerleaders. I have my one friend, Delilah. She's not a millionaire. She doesn't make a lot of money, but she's such a positive person. Anytime I talk to her, she just makes my spirit feel happy. I'm like, oh my God, I could do it, right? Like, so finding these valuable people that could compliment you, because you will get down, right? Or you will need advice about this or that, and starting to surround yourself. I know it's so cliche, but it is so, so important, is the people, especially the people that are in your inner circle that you surround yourself with, will uplift you, whether you have an idea. And even if it's a silly idea, they're going to say, well, test it out, see what happens, right? That's different than saying, that's dumb, you're dumb, right? Why are you even doing that, right? That's a different energy. And so that is really, really critical as you, as a Black man, as a Black woman, as a person, having surrounding yourself with those people, and also trying things. Try as many things as possible. Who cares what you're being perceived as from outside? Like, oh, they're doing this now. Oh, they're doing that now. right? But when you make that $1 million, right,
Right.
listen.
You know, that was actually one of my biggest fears when I stepped out to do trading full time. I was worried what people would think and that they would think that I wasn't consistent or was not reliable. Like, oh man, every few years she switches what she does. Like, oh, she's doing real estate now and then she's in
Right.
education and now she's in stocks. Like, that they would feel like I wasn't as good of a person because I kept switching from thing to thing. But then it's like, actually, every single one of those things gave me a different skill set that I'm using now to
Right.
like be my best self. But had I
That
not, like you said, crossed some stuff out, then I wouldn't have even known that this opportunity was available and that I'm good at it. So
1,000. You don't know where the road is going to take you, right? And so it's all about just taking the first step. Like, you never see the top of the stair. All you do is see the next stair that's in front of you, and you decide whether you're going to take that step or not, right? Most people are okay with just staying where the light is lit, right? They're afraid to lift their foot up to see what else is out there. And so it's always about, you're always going to be, betting on yourself, and you decide how much you want to bet on yourself. But yeah, you can't listen to what other people are saying while you're taking your steps, right? While you're trying different things out.
yeah. Oh man, like one of the things I love about you is I love that you are so transparent even with mental health. Like I've seen a lot of your posts lately and I think that's so crucial because a lot of people in general don't talk about mental health. And then I heard a statistic that like there's a lot of men out there that deal with mental health things but they just never talk about it or they try to be strong and not handle it. So I thank you. You're such an inspiration to me, Abu. You just don't even know it.
No, likewise. And it is hard, we're already an entrepreneur. It's hard, it's lonely. And it's important to have that community around you. Like I still struggle to this day, right? Getting a therapist, right? Something that's flexible with your schedule, but also surrounding yourself with people. It's difficult. Journaling has helped me tremendously, but it is difficult. It's a difficult. It doesn't matter how much money you obtain, right? These things they're mental, they're internal, they're coming from inside of you. And so it's a process like you mentioned, but it's super important to surround yourself with a community as well.
Yeah, yeah. Now tell me this. So, I told you I got my questions. I went to this Black Excellence thing and
Yeah.
they had a panel and they started asking all these questions. And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write this down. I'm like, Abu ain't even gonna be ready for me this time. But okay, so one of the questions, but I think we might have covered this one was what was the biggest adversity you've had to face? Have you covered it already, or is there another one you think like, nah, actually my biggest adversity was this?
I mean, I've had so much. I mean, I think that I've had so much different adversities, from hiring people, letting people go, to transitioning from a 6-figure salary job, to jumping and to pursuing entrepreneurship, to listening to myself, right? Versus everyone had a path for Abu. Okay, MBA, Harvard, everyone had a path for Abu, but Abu, right? Like, so a lot of different adversities. And, the ultimate one is just like the things my mom went through and what is this all for, right? Coming here as a refugee from, the war in Sierra Leone, West Africa, to coming here and always preaching education, to taking my education seriously, to getting a full scholarship, academic scholarship, and then finishing school early, right? And utilizing, where the environments that I was in to really propel me forward. So just so many different, adversarial points in my life. And it's like, well, what are you going to do now? Right? What are you going to do now, Abu? Right? Yeah, this happened, but what are you going to do now? And so that's always been the biggest. All my stories come from adversities, like what's pushing me to move forward and what's pushing me to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, right? To start reading, going to the gym by 5 a.m., right? Like learning by 5 to 6 a.m., checking my business stash from 6 to 7. Like this is because I'm like, I know where I've been and I've been through the hardest things. People always ask me, Boo, why are you always smiling all the? Because you haven't been through what I've been through. Like if you've been through what I've been through, you be smiling all the time too, because you're in a better place, you're in a better position. And I think that, you know, everything that I've encountered, whether it's business or whether it's just like my story to where I got where I am, it's all through, you know, a point in my life where I had to make a decision, you know, what I was going to do about it.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Now, and then Sierra did. I'm gonna tell you. Sierra said, "Talk about the teacher." She said that's her favorite story. If you know what story that is.
Yeah. So,
go ahead. You can tell that one. And then one other question is, what are your new plans next? So we'll go there next. But if you want to talk about the story of the teacher.
Oh yeah. So when I first came here to the States, I went to. I was out in called Warminster. Warminster, you know, rich white neighborhood, you know, suburban, but all the black kids from the poorer neighborhoods also went to the same schools academically. So academically, the schools were a lot better. But I remember first coming in, and at this time it was Halloween. Halloween was coming around. I was in first grade, and my family didn't know what Halloween was. Like my mom didn't know what it was. So I remember coming in, and you know, everyone has their costumes because you know at lunch, after school, you have the parade around the school. And I don't know how many of y'all had this parade. You know, you dress up in your costumes, first graders, and you walk around the school. You go to different classrooms and trick or treat, right? Essentially.
That's cool.
And so I remember coming into class, and I would look at the cubicle, and everyone had their costume except me because my mom doesn't know what it is. So recess rolls around, and I come back in, and I look at through the cubicle, and there's something in my cubicle. And I didn't know, you know, my first grade teacher went to Party City and bought me a Fred Flintstone costume. And here I was, I could be a part for the first time, because prior to that, everyone made fun of me, right? Like, oh, you're from Africa, language, right? But for the first time, I felt like I belonged. I was like, oh my God, I have a costume. And after school, she'd be like, Abu, like, why don't you help me out and help clean this or clean that? But what she was trying to do at that time was saying, like, you matter, right? You matter. And she would always tell me, like, Abu, you could write your ticket anywhere in the world. You just have to put your name on it. You just have to put your name on it. So fast forward, I leave that school district. I'm in high school now in a boarding school, Girard College in North Philly. And I graduate, and I go home, and in the mail is a letter from Jean Myers, my first grade teacher.
Oh my gosh.
In the card, you see, I told you, you could write your ticket anywhere in the world. And to this day, I mean, she's been a person that's been super impactful all my life because she saw something in me. At that time, I didn't see it myself, right? And so it was just like super, you know, to this day, Jean Myers, she's just means a lot to me. And we talk often through, like, you know, we're friends on LinkedIn, and I'm like, what you doing on LinkedIn? Like, you know, so it's just like, so really cool. And, you know, my mom was always at work. My mom always believed in me too, but, you know, her time was limited because she had to provide for 7 kids. So there was a village that raised me and made me who I am today. And for those asking, you know, what's next? You know, what are you doing next? And so right now I'm growing my business, Power Your Lunch Marketing Accelerator. And I have speaking engagements coming up. Like I just spoke at Harvard Business School, and I did a workshop around digital marketing and paid advertisement. And so I have speaking engagements this year, but I'm really focused on scaling that business and impacting more business founders, right? My goal this year is to get to 1,000 women of color founders impacted through the program, as well as helping any business owners learn a skill set to grow their product or service-based business. So that's my big thing this year, is really stepping at the forefront, hiring the right people and really scaling and growing this business and reaching more people and saying, hey, look at what it's done for me. It's changed my economics, right? Running ads and making money this way has changed my economics. Look what it's done for the other people that I've been able to help. It's changed their economics. Now let's try to help, similar to your vision, Teri, put and train people on a skill set so they could just change their circumstance. And that's the big thing for me. And so that's what I'm trying to do this year, is now I'm stepping in front of the social media, of the camera. For the longest, I've been behind the scenes and really saying, hey, here I am. I'm here to stay. I'm going to help as many people as possible because I've seen what it's done for me and the other people that I've been able to help so far.
Nice. And one more time, that website is it poweryourlaunch.com?
Yeah, poweryourlaunch.com, and that you can link the webinar. And again, the webinar provides just a lot of good information and take through the program to really just learn it. And I'm going to link everything right here. So you can learn more about the program there. You can
Nice.
enroll in the webinar. You can enroll, and then you can check out the checkout page, and you can enroll in the webinar right there. So those are the 3 links. But again, I'm really dedicated to the people that I help, because I give it my all, because again, I've seen what it's done for me, and I try to always show up and give people everything if they're willing to show up for themselves.
Yes. Now, a couple questions, because I know you got to go in a minute. You got to catch a plane. But so because you have this vision to scale, what are a couple of tips that you can give people on how to scale their businesses too? Are there some things that you've learned?
Yeah, so the first thing is find something that's repeatable, right? Find a process that's repeatable. And so, and that harps back to whatever that product or service is around, it doesn't work. If it works, check. The next thing is, how can I, make it repeatable so I can help as many people as possible? So that's the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned about scaling is that you'll need a team, right? It's hard to scale alone. And I did it, but I didn't sleep. So there's a trade-off if you think that you're going to do it by yourself, right? So hire people, but don't hire for problems, hire for solutions. Again, I'm going to say that again. Do not hire for problems, hire for solutions. And Teri, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome. So what I mean by that is, if you hire for a problem, that means you're just plugging someone in, and let's say they solve that problem, but when they leave, it's still a problem. When you hire for solutions, that means you solve the problem and you're bringing people in and you're just plugging them in. Hey, I already know, here are the steps. Just follow these steps. So hire for solutions, right? Do not hire for problems. And that's one big thing that I learned this year as I'm beginning to business. The other thing is continue education, right? Continue learning. Like, I'm getting ready to run YouTube ads, right? I'm getting ready to run, and I'm in other people's programs learning how to do it. And so other
Learning
people's
how to
programs,
invest.
right? Learning how to invest, right? And so I'm in Teri's program. So those are the big things that I would say with scaling. That's what it's taking me so far.
Man, I love that idea of hiring for solutions, because I have done it. You're right. I've done it both ways. I've done it where this thing is really getting on my nerves. Let me just hire you and you figure it out. But then what happens is, because we're the type of people we are, we usually are in control all the time anyway. They do something, they figure out a solution, then we're like, but no, that's not right. That's not the way I wanted it to be done.
Right. Right.
So it's like, no, if you figure out in your mind what the solution is, come up with the few steps it takes to get this done, and then hire them. And there's already a plan in place. They have clarity on what they're supposed to be doing. Like, that works so much better than just hiring for a problem. Ooh, that was good. That was really good. Is there, so I don't want to keep you, because I know you, I don't want you to miss your flight and then be like, Teri, it's your fault. But is there anything else that you want to say, or anything else you think that people need to hear?
Yeah, I think that, and this is something like one of my mantras, and I posted about it on Instagram. Again, it's at Abu Fofanah, ABUFOFANAH. I'm super transparent. I try to keep it as real as possible. But the first thing is, find something you enjoy doing, right? And I know this is cliche, but if you find something you enjoy doing, you don't mind when you get off work spending the next 5 hours on that thing, because you enjoy doing it so much, right? So find something you enjoy doing. 2, figure out ways to make an impact, right? What are my things I could do to make a big impact, and even a small impact as well, right? So what can I do? And if you find those 2 things and align those 2 things, like, you could have a successful business long term, because people start championing you and your vision as well. But the other thing I want to mention is that, even to this day, it gets hard, right? You have your beliefs, limiting beliefs on yourself, right? Even sometimes you doubt yourself as well, and the things that you could do. So every morning I repeat literally this mantra to myself. And I always say, if you want to improve, practice. If you want to be the best, try. If you want to succeed, fail. If you want to be heard, speak. If you want to be remembered, do. If you want to leave an impact, start. If you want to give up, believe, right? And you have everything you need already. And I repeatedly tell myself this because I need to hear this, right? In order to say, you know what, let me get out there today, right? Let me get up, let me do this today.
Well, can you say that one more time?
Yeah.
Repeat it for us too.
So if you want to improve, practice. If you want to believe, if you want to be the best, try. If you want to succeed, fail. If you want to be heard, speak. If you want to be remembered, do. If you want to leave an impact, start. If you want to give up, don't give up, believe. You have everything you need, right? So literally telling myself this all the time really helps me out, especially when I'm down.
Man, y'all know Abu's voice is nice too. So what you need is when you get the replay, just save this portion and just every morning just replay that in your head. Thank you so much for your time today, Abu. I really, really appreciate you. And there was tons of people on here who had questions. Y'all feel free, please take pictures of us on here, tag us on Instagram, put us in your story so that we can shout you out and then you can connect with him more on that way too. I'm at I'm an Investor. That's my Instagram name, at I'm an Investor. And then Abu is at Abu Fofanah. So yeah, tag us in your stories. That way we'll be able to shout you out. And then if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to him that way. Or is there another way? Or is that good?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me via Instagram, DM me and I'll get back to you. If you have questions about the program, you could email my support team at Power Your Launch. I'm at support@poweryourlaunch.com. They'll probably share those same links that I just shared with you. Here's how you learn more, here's how you enroll, and here's the webinar if you want to dive deeper into what exactly we cover as well. So again, I'm super grateful, Teri, for you inviting me on here. And I'm super grateful for building, we've been building a relationship, since we met. And I heard all about Teri, and, you've poured into me a lot. I know I always ask you a million questions, but, you're someone that I admire. You're someone that I respect. Right there, I'm like, okay, what would Teri do, right? So, and that's that community. So, thank you again for inviting me, and everyone that showed up today, whether you're on lunch break, whether you're in between. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule for being here and for being present. If you're watching on a replay, thank you for watching to the end. Super, super appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Y'all enjoy your day, and thank you so much for watching. All right, bye. Thank you, Abu.
I'll see you.